Okay, today we're going to work on the maze game, and I'd like for you to go ahead and go to the Moodle site for our class and find the maze game compiler, and let's just download the maze game compiler now. When you have it downloaded, you'll go ahead and open it up in Flash. And let's take a look at what's inside of the maze game compiler. The first thing that you'll notice is in the library that there is something called, in assets, there's something called mazes. And in here we have just a square that's for the goal, and then we have a maze here. So, and it's just listed as maze. You'll notice that there's another movie clip here called pattern. If we double click on the maze, we can go into the edit mode. And this is actually important. Here inside of the maze, if we double click on that, you'll see that we have, in the maze, we have the pattern symbol. And the pattern symbol holds this vector maze here. Now if we go back into just the edit mode of maze, what you'll notice is that if we go to the properties menu for this, that while we're selected on the maze, this pattern here, you'll see that it says instance of pattern, as we know. And what you'll notice is that if you remember from 461, in order to talk to our movie clips when we were just working within the Flash program and on the timeline, and we wanted to use Actionscript, we could give our movie clips instance names. And you'll notice that inside of this maze, selected on our instance of pattern, we have given this movie clip an instance name of walls. And so we are going to be able to talk to these walls as if it's a variable. So, and I think we kind of talked about that they're, it's basically like giving a variable name. So we're going to be able to talk to this instance of the walls. And that's what we're going to be doing our detection against. Okay. And like I said, the other thing we have is the goal, which is just a square, and then I have in here another just square here that's called player, and it's just a square, no big deal. It's kind of big, but other than that, it is what it is, and that's what we're going to use to take through our maze. Of course, that could be anything. We could, take our boy, we could do anything, but I just have this square in here. So let's go ahead and let's open up a new class here, Actionscript 3 class. And we'll go OK. And let me just give this a name, a maze game, we'll call it. All right, and then we'll go OK. OK, and we'll go ahead. We'll just do extends sprite. And that means we need to do an import for the sprite display dot sprite. Okay, there we go. Got our basic setup going on now. All right, let's go ahead and let's make an init function like we've done before. Keep our constructor nice and thin. Okay, so we're just going to make an init function. Here it is, init. Now let's go ahead and write it. Private function init. And I'm not returning any value. Okay, so now we have our init function started. Now let's go ahead. Now we want to set our stage. We want to bring on our playing pieces. So let's go ahead and first bring on our maze. So we're going to need to be talking to our maze throughout the script. So we are going to need to be declaring a class variable for our maze. So let's go ahead up here at the top, and we're going to go and declare a variable for our maze, and I guess we'll just call it the maze. How about, yeah, the maze. And of course, this is a maze class, so we'll just put maze. Okay, so now that we have our class variable, now we can go ahead and bring on a new instance of our maze. So we're going to go back down to our init function, and now we're going to go ahead and start our new instance. So what do we need to write? Okay, so of course we have our variable name, the maze, and what do we need to say? Yes equals new maze, and of course this is just coming from the library, so we can't pass any parameters, can't pass any arguments into our library item. So now we're going to, of course, need to add it to the stage. So add child, the maze. Okay, and we'll just, it's square. We'll just let it default to the upper left 0, 0 position. Actually, let's take a look, because I think our registration point is up here. Notice where the registration point is. Well, let's just simply adjust that maze. I think that might be a little easier. So I'm just going to go into the edit mode for my maze, and I'm just going to move my maze down like so that now this is more in the, this is going to make it so the registration point for my maze is in the upper left corner. So that way I don't have to even do any placing in my action script. It'll just go in at the 0, 0 mark and cover the stage nicely. Okay, so now let's go ahead and we have that brought to the stage. Let's go ahead and save what we have out. So let's save that, and maze game, make sure it matches the class and the constructor, match the file name. Okay. Okay, now let's go ahead and compile our maze game. Okay, so in the compiler, just put in maze game, and then we'll go ahead and run that. And okay, so we have our maze up. Yep, that was pretty good. And do I need to scale that down? Let me take a look at my maze. Yeah, maybe I could scale it down a little bit. It's a little bit big. Like I said, you could actually, we could just scale it here in the library. Save ourselves a tiny bit of coding. Should we do that? Yeah, let's do that. Why don't we just scale it here and be done with it? That way we have a little less coding, a couple less lines to code, so we don't have to do the scale code. Yeah, there. How about that? That looks good. That should be about right. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks good. Yep. So now we know it's gonna start up here, and we have to go around here like that. Yeah. Okay, that's good. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's add our player, just that square box, and let's add our goal. Let's add our goal too. Okay, so 2 more playing pieces to bring on here. So let's do our player first. Yep. All right, so once again, we're going to need to be talking to our player throughout the script. So let's go ahead and declare that variable up here at the top. Okay, and I'll just call it the player. Love that word, though, don't I? All right. All right. All right. So let's go ahead, and now that we have our player declared at the top, we'll go ahead and start that new instance of the player. Okay, so the player variable equals new player. Yep. Once again, not passing any variables because it's just coming directly from the library. And let's just add it to the stage now. The player. Okay. Let's go ahead and save that. And let's run that. Let's just see where our player is relative to our maze. I'm sure we're going to have to move it around, that's for sure. Okay, it's up here in the upper left. If we actually look at, we can see from here in our library that it has a center registration mark on it. And based on that, you can actually tell that it's a fairly big square. So once again, we could just, scale it down in the library. But this time, let's just go ahead and scale it here and be done with it. So the player. Okay, and how do we scale in Actionscript? Yeah, scale x equals the player. We're doing it proportional. The player, oops, spell it right. Dot scale y, and let's scale that down. Probably needs to be about 20% of what it is currently. And let's just bring the player over a little bit. I mean, it's pretty I just want to make sure that it's on the stage or where that starting place is for our maze. So the player, the player dot x, and we'll say like 50 maybe, and then I think we need to bring down the player as well to make sure that it's completely on the screen. So player y, and I'll bring that down 40. We might have to make some adjustments here, but let's just see. Okay, and oh yeah, okay. The y is looking pretty good. Let's just move and the size is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and just bring the x over a little bit more, probably double of what it is. Okay, so the x is at 50. Let's just make it 100 instead. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. I mean, we could push it over a little bit more, make it really start right in the middle, but whatever. That's fine. It's good enough. So it's in our starting position. And we'd be wanting to go over here. Okay. We might need to make it a little bit smaller, though, to be able to fit through that narrow area right here. What do you guys think? Yeah. Let's make that smaller. So I'm going to make this actually 10% of what it is currently. Oh, yeah, that'll make it. Now that'll make it for sure, yeah? Okay. All right, so we have our player on the screen, and now we just need to put our goal. And so, basically we're just going to have this goal here, so that way when the player gets to the goal, gets to the end of the maze, essentially, it would go to a winning screen, or maybe it would go to another level, something like that. And we have I have a little winning. I have some pieces in here, like you win text and stuff like that we can use to just use it in a little panel here, just as a background for that trigger. Okay, so let's go ahead and put on our goal now. So once again, we have to be talking to the goal throughout our script. So we need to once again declare a class variable at the top. So private var the goal. That's a goal class out of our library. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go down to our init function. Let's go to our init function, and let's bring on a new instance of our goal. So the goal equals new goal. And, of course, no arguments to be passed, coming just out of the library. add child, the goal, to bring it on stage. Okay, that looks good. Now we just got to place it. So we know that it wants to be all the way over on the right-hand side, yeah. So we can go ahead and how do we place an object all the way on the right side of our stage? And I know you're all saying, why, Mary, that's stage width, isn't it? Yeah, you're right, it is. So the goal dot x equals stage dot stage width, and that might be a little too much. Let's also see where our registration mark is. Oh yeah, it's right in the middle, so definitely at least part of it will be on the screen. Yep. So let's now it's also, you'll notice that it's going horizontal, and we might want to have, if we look at it, and oh wait, oh, I didn't save it, did I? Yeah, let's save it. How about that? Yeah, now let's run it. Always save your work, yeah. Oh, and it's still not showing up. What did I do wrong here? Oh, that's not good, is it? Ooh, 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 we're crashing. Are we crashing? Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay, let's see here now. Is that because we're crashing or for other reasons that we don't see it? Oh, it's up here. Oh, yes. We didn't set a Y position, did we? No, we didn't set a Y position. We need to bring that guy down, don't we? Yeah. It's up there. Let's bring that down. Okay. Let's do it. All right. So, the goal dot Y. What would you say? That's about halfway down? It's about halfway down the stage, right? So, how do we say halfway down the stage? Oh, yeah, you're right. Stage dot stage height. Spell that right, Mayor. Divided by 2? All right, yeah. Okay. So, now, there it is. Yeah, that's good. That'll be fine. Okay, let's rotate it to the left, right? I think that'd be a good idea. Have it take up a little bit more space because just this little thing sticking out here. So I think that'll be better if we do it like that. The goal dot rotation, and we want to just do it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So we'll just do negative 90. Yep. Oh yeah, that's good. Should we bring it a little bit more on to the stage? Just a little bit more on so we can see a little bit better. Yeah. So what we can do is we can amend the X position here. We can amend the X position right here. And we could say, okay, have it be the stage width, but then what we can do is, we can, have it come in about, I don't know, should we say 30 pixels, about that. So how do we make it move to the left 30 pixels? Yeah, negative. Minus 30. Yeah. So that'll bring it back 30 pixels. We could have just done we could have also just done minus half the height or half the width. I think it would be half the height. And just make it barely on the stage. But let's bring it a little bit in. Make it really, at least so we can see it a little bit better, right? So now we have our playing pieces. They're all there. We have the maze, the player, the goal. So stage is set for us to play our game. Now we just need the functionality to move our game around to actually do the game. Okay. So we're going to need to, basically this entails doing exactly what we did the other day with our lives game with the boy, where we are going to be using our keyboard to move it around. but we're going to be using those booleans, those up, down, right, left. We're going to use that method for moving our player object this time, our little square here. So let's go ahead and we're going to use that method. And if you wanted to, you could just copy and paste it from our lives that we did in the class, because we're going to need the same variables, and we're going to end up doing the same, the keyboard functions, the keys down, the keys up. You're going to do the exact same thing. So you could copy and paste all that stuff if you wanted to. And then change where it says, just take out the stuff that says about the boy, because in your keyboard stuff, because it doesn't need that. We don't have the boy on here, okay? And we're not dealing with a movie clip that's, we want it to go to a particular frame or anything like that. So let's go ahead, though, and create our variables up here at the top, our Boolean variables. So private var the up, I'll use the same names that way. If you are copying and pasting, you'll have it. Of course, this is a Boolean. Oops. Boolean. And we're going to start it equal to false. Each one of these is going to be equal to false, of course. Private variable, the down, Boolean equals false. Private var the right. Oops, let me get that all together. The right Boolean false equals false. And finally, private var the left. Yep, it's a Boolean and also equal to false. Let me spell false correctly, though. And, all right, that looks good. All right, so now we have our Boolean set up. Now let's go ahead and create our keys down function and our keys up functions. So, of course, the first thing that we need to do, and we'll do it in our init function, is when the game is launched and we're running our init function, we want the game to immediately start listening for whether or not the user is clicking down on a key. Are they clicking on a key? Okay, so if they are, so then we'll run a function. So let's just create those event listeners. And I know that you were all saying, oh yeah, we need an event listener. So yeah. So add event listener, and this is a keyboard event, and we'll first do our keys down. How about keyboard, wait, let's spell that correctly, event, and key down. Okay, and let's just point it to a function called the keys down, the way we've done before. Of course, this can be any function name that you want to give it. It's up to you, but we'll just use the one that we've been using. Stage. Okay. So sorry, my battery just died for a second, and I was trying to just run my laptop off of battery to keep the noise interference from the plug from the plug-in from creating extra hiss. So we'll see if this is hissier than the first part of the tutorial or not. Maybe it won't make any difference at all. So we're going to pick up, and now we just need to do our event listener for our keys up. And we just need to say stage again, add event listener. And of course, you always have to talk to the stage when you're doing keyboard command, when you're setting up an event listener for the keyboards. They're all based off of the stage. Okay, so you always have to point to the stage when you're doing keyboard a keyboard event listener. And I just mentioned that because a number of you got that wrong on the test. So, all right, so this is going to be a keyboard event again, and this time key up. Oops, come on, all caps there. Okay, and we'll just use the keys up again. Function name seems like a good idea. Okay, so we have our 2 event listeners set up, ready to go, and now we just need to write the keys down function and the keys up function. And like I said, you could copy and paste them from what we did in class. It's up to you. Okay, so private function, the keys down. Okay, and it's coming off an event listener, so we have to put what here? Yes, keyboard event. Okay. And not returning any value, and then, all right, now we just need our switch statement. Switch key code. Okay. Open parentheses. Okay, now we just need to write our cases. So case keyboard. I guess we'll just start with up. Yep. Why not? And just the up, just like we did before, equals true. Break to end the case. Case keyboard dot down, and the down equals true. Break case keyboard dot right, and the right equals true. Break and case keyboard left, and the left equals true. Break. All right, there we go. Got those done. And if you, like I said, and now we just have to make our keys, the keys up. Okay. Here, I'm just going to copy and paste the keys down function to create the keys up. So I'm going to put this after my keys down function. So you should have 2 curly brackets, 1, 2, and then we'll go ahead and paste, and then there should be 2 more over here. So once you paste it in, there'll be 4 right here at the bottom of the script, and there's 2 right before it. And we're going to change the keys down to the keys up. Okay. And then, of course, we just need to change all of our booleans to false. In the keys up, we're changing all of our booleans to false. Okay, let's do it. False. Okay, false. 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 Okay. All right. Keyboard activate. Yep. All right. Now, so we still, okay, so this will have the keyboard working. You'll just be running booleans. So far, though, these booleans are not associated with anything. So, I mean, with moving our actual player around, if you remember from when we were working on our lives function, our lives class, the way that we use these booleans is that basically we had an event listener, an enter frame event listener that was constantly running, and it was constantly looking to see if one of the booleans was up, was set to true. Sorry, it was trying to see if the boolean was set to true, and if the boolean was set to true, then it would move the player in the appropriate direction depending on which one was true. And that's what we want to do again. Like I said, we're going to actually do the exact same thing that we were doing in class. So you could also copy over that enter frame and that enter frame event listener and that enter frame function if you wanted to. I think it was called move boy, I think. I'm going to, I think, just set, consistency with our actual script, I'm going to, why is this doing this? That's weird. I'm going to go ahead and call my event listener, my enter frame event listener, enter frame. I think I'm going to call it move player, just that it goes along with the name of my particular variable. So if you do copy over, you might want to change your function name in the event listener and in the function itself to say move player if you want to make it match mine. Okay, so I created the event listener to start up listening for entering the frame. And of course, it's on the init function, turning the lights on, making it start immediately listening. So it's going to start listening for keys being pressed, going to start listening for keys being let up, and is going to start listening for the playhead entering the frame. Now let's go ahead and create our function called move player. And private, I'm doing it outside the init function, so see how there's the closing bracket for the init, and then I'm starting it. Okay, and I'm going to call this move player. And this is an event type and no return value. Okay, and all we want to do is these if statements like we did in class. So if, like I said, you could probably copy and paste this stuff. If the up, open parentheses, closing parentheses. So if the up, and that means, of course, if the up is true, that's what that's shorthand for. If we had an exclamation point in front of it, it would be if the up was false, but we're looking for true. So if the up equals true, then what do we want to do? We want to talk to the player, and we're moving it up. So which property do we want to affect? Yes, Y. And wherever he's at, we're just going to have it move. Oops, do I want to do plus equals or minus equals? Actually, let's do plus equals. And instead, let's put in a minus value. So we'll say -5. Okay, oops, my computer jumps around a lot. Okay, so that's going to move him up 5 pixels. Now let's do an else if, and then the down, once again, down being true. Then the player, once again pointing to the y-axis, plus equals, and then we'll just do a +5 this time. Yeah, just the opposite, right? And then we'll do one more if-else statement. So if, and then we'll point to the right, and look looking for true. Then the player, which property? Yep, x plus equals, and then a positive or a negative. Yeah, a positive 5. Okay, and then let's just do our else if. Else if the right, or the left, sorry, the left. Then we want the player x plus equals. And then what do we want? Positive or negative? Yep, negative 5. Okay. All right, so now we got it doing something. Now our booleans are associated with our we have these booleans being checked, so when we change our keys around, move our, press down on them, let up on them, this will actually do something. Okay, let's run this. Oops, what have I got? Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah. Can you? Oh, actually, it's not what I thought it was going to be, because I thought I had forgotten an import, which I think I did, unless it put it in there for me. Well, it did put in the keyboard event. We do also, though, need to put in an import for the actual keyboard, if you remember. So that's flash.ui and then keyboard. And actually, that may have been what the compiler error was about anyways. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, there's something else that I did wrong. Let me see then. 38. Let me see what I did incorrectly. Oh, what did I do here? Look at that. I put an extra parentheses in there by mistake. Oh, bad typing. No bad typing for me. Okay, there we are. All right, so now you can see blah, blah, blah. It's moving around. No problem. Yep. Okay, now we don't have the detection yet on the walls, and that's the last part that we just need to do. So what we need to check is when the Boolean is in its true state, like if it's going down or up or left or right, while that is true, besides moving the player around, it also needs to check to see whether or not the player is hitting one of those walls. So, moving it, and so let's go ahead and do that detection. And as you know, hit detection needs that if statement. So, if, oops, oh my computer, it does all this, it jumps around. All right, so if, okay, and then this, now what we're going to be doing on this time is we're going to be using the hit test point for our hit testing. And what we're going to do is we're going to test to see if a point on the player is hitting any pixel of the walls. And if you remember, we have that instance name that we gave inside of the maze called walls. So we're saying, okay, look at the maze, look at the walls inside of the maze, and then hit test point. And then we put, which X and Y do we want to look? And so, and of course the X and the Y, if we say that we want to look at the X and Y of the player dot X and the player dot Y, it's going to look at the registration point of the player, which is in the middle, And so basically the player would have to get halfway across the walls before it would detect it. And maybe that would be okay with you. But we're going to have, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a couple of, we're going to actually set up a couple of points. We're going to first, what we're going to do is, since this is on the Y and it's for the up, what we want to do is we want to set up a point on our player. We want to set up a point on our player up here in the upper left, and then we're going to create a point over here to detect. Okay, is this point hitting? Is that point hitting? Basically these outermost points as it's moving up. So it's going to be watching to see if a point right here that we're just setting up, or a point right here is hitting any pixel on the wall. That's what we're going to be doing. So we need to adjust these points. Like I said, this is the registration point. It happens to be in the middle. So for our X, we need to move it to the right of, or to the left side of the player. And so if we want to move this basically halfway across to like over here, how could we write that? Well, if we want to adjust this to so the point is to the left, is that a plus or a minus? Yep, that's a minus. And how much in a generic sense would you say that is? Yeah, that's the player's width. The player dot width in half, right? Divided by 2. Okay, so we're going to take away half the width of the player. Now, we need to also move it up. About how much is that? Well, that's half the height, isn't it? And we're moving up. So it's in minus, isn't it? Yeah? Okay, yeah, that's what we want. Okay. So we're going to adjust then the player.y minus the player.height divided by 2. Okay? All right, so now we've set our x and y. Now we need to put the shape flag Boolean. And what that shape flag does is that just says, like, yes, I want you to check against the pixels of, what the other object that it's, in this case, the walls. So we're going to say true. So it does it pixel by pixel. And, all right, so, I think I need 2 ending parentheses. So we have the parentheses, one ending parentheses for the hit test point, and then the other ending parentheses for the if statement. This is an if statement, so we have the opening curly brackets. All right, and so what do we want it to do? If it runs into a pixel, what do we want it to do? Well, what we want it to do is we're actually going to have the player move back plus equals, or move in the opposite direction, move in the opposite direction in the same amount that it happens to be moving forward or backwards or whatever. In this case, the up, it's moving a -5. So what we're going to have it do is that if it runs into something as it's going up, when it tries to go up, it's actually, if you're pushing down and it's trying to move up, but it's hitting this guy, it's going to add back on 5. So -5 plus a +5 means 0, which means that it's just going to end up not moving any amount of value. So that is setting up one point on our player. Now let's go ahead and set up another point on our player. So we'll just do an else if. And basically we're going to have mostly the same script, we want to, once again, to point to the maze, talk to the walls. We'll take a look at the walls. Hit test, point. And once again, let's look at the player, the X position. Now in this case, what we want to do is we want to create a point that's for instead this upper right hand corner. So we need to adjust this point so that it moves over to the right. So instead of, you'll see up here we did minus the width, half the width. So what do you think we want to do for this one? Yeah, plus half the width. The player dot width divided by 2. And so do we want to do this, have the Y be the same as the left-hand point? Yeah, because I mean, we still want to move it up. So the Y we actually can keep the same. The Y code, because we still do need to adjust that point so it's going up. Sorry, I just hit the mic. And we still need our shape flag set to true. And to parentheses, and there we go. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing, just the player plus equals and positive 5. So now we just have 2 points set up to detect whether or not the player, as it's moving up, is hitting a wall. All right. So, okay, so if we run this, if we run what we have so far, okay, the first thing that we're going to need to do is here, let's actually take it over to a place where, you know, it could be hitting a wall as it's going up. Oops. Oh. Okay. We have, wow, that, it really freaked out there for a second. Okay. All right, so we have an error here. Okay, so let's just see what we got going on here. Okay, did you find my mistake? Yes, it's right here. Just moving way too fast, clearly. And I'm just pointing to the player. I'm like, you know, but not to the Y value. Whoops, forgot to say which property I wanted to amend. And it's like, you can't make that 5. You can't make a player 5. That doesn't make any sense. So, all right, I have to actually talk to a property. Yes, I was adjusting, I'm affecting the Y property. So here in the if statement, I also want to affect the Y property. Hello, I needed to put that. Okay, so just typing way too fast, getting ahead of myself, of course. All right, so let's see here now. When we go, boop, it's like, boop. No, not going to go, boop, boop, boop. See, you're like, no, come on, go. Nope, not going to do it. Now when it goes, see, there's nothing there. Now, but it can go like that. But when it goes, boop, nope, can't do it. Okay. So now we need to do this for all the directions. Okay, so here, but, you know, so very repetitive, very repetitive. I don't know if I would quite copy and paste this. There's a lot of different bits that you have to change around, so you could end up making a lot of missing parts and having things go crazy. All right, so let's just do if the maze dot walls dot hit test point hit test point, and it says still pointing to the player Y position, no, X position we always put first. X, okay, so going down, now we need to create 2 points. We need to create a point looking right here on the left. We need to create a point over here on the right, right at the bottom. Okay, so now we still want to, create a point on the left in terms of the X position. So We'll do minus half the player again. Player.width divided by 2. And we need to then move that point down. The Y, look at the Y position. And okay. And so now we want to do the Y. And so it's just going to be the player dot Y. We want to move it down. So it has to be plus, yeah? Plus half the height. Okay, and let's spell height correctly. Okay. And the shape flag is set to true. 2 parentheses at the end. And then we need curly bracket. And what do we want it to do? Okay, so now it's moving down. It's moving in the positive direction. So when it hits a wall, what direction do we want it to move in? Yeah, the negative. So the player, and I'll try to remember I'll remember to talk to the property. Y plus equals minus 5, right? Instead. Okay, so that's 1 point set up. Now we'll just do another else if. And now we'll do, oh my gosh, I almost forgot to open parentheses or got deleted somehow. Else if the maze dot walls dot hit test point, and then once again the player pointing, first we have to do the X position. So now we're doing the lower right corner, bottom right corner of the player. Player X, and so we want to move it to the right. So that means plus, right? Plus half the width. Plus the player dot width divided by 2. All right, now we'd have to do comma, and now we're going to do the Y. Okay, so the player dot Y, and then we'll go ahead and, like I said, it's the bottom, so we need to add to it, so it'll be plus the player dot half the height. Again, yeah. Oh. 2 closing parentheses. Oh, I almost forgot. Shape flag equals true. 2 closing parentheses. And open curly bracket. Okay. And what do we want it to do? Once again, just move it opposite direction. So it's going to be minus 5. Okay. So the player dot Y. Try not to forget that again. Minus 5 plus equals minus 5. All right, so the player dot Y plus equals minus 5. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have those 2 points set up for the down. Okay, now we just need to do the right and the left. We can go ahead. Maybe we should check the down, make sure that the down is working okay. And what I did clearly, I did some bad typing again. Yeah, right here I got an L, a little uppercase L, no good. Okay. All right, let's see if the down is working. Boop. Okay, looks good. Boop. So that's working. Up is still working. Yeah, you'll see. Okay, here, let me see if I can get it to, you'll see that even on that curve, it gets caught on that, well, okay, let me get it a little bit further in. Yeah, see it gets caught on that curve even. Boop, 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 won't go down. Yeah, got caught on that pixel. So it's like literally pixel perfect. Yeah, boop, look at that, right on that curve. Yeah. All right, so now I just need to do the right and the left. All right. So now for the right. If, once again, the maze dot walls dot hit test point. Once again, the player, the X position first. This time we are setting up, we need to set up 2 points this time on the upper right and the lower right for going to the right. So the upper right and the lower right. So yeah, we're actually redoing we're redoing those points. Because this time they're doing a totally different detection. They're trying to see whether or not it's moving left or right. So we have to actually redo those points. All right, so we're moving off to the right, so that's going to be a plus. The player dot width divided by 2. Do the Y position now, the player dot Y. And we want to do the upper one, so that's going to be moving the position up, so that's going to be minus. The player dot half the height. And shape flag true, 2 closing parentheses. Move the player in the then statement, we're moving the player in the opposite direction on the X property. And let's spell player correctly, Mayor. Okay. So if it's on the right, it's moving in the positive direction. So we want to have this guy move in the negative direction, yes? In the then statement. Okay. Okay, so that's the first point on the right. Now we'll do our else if. And once again, else if. And the maze dot walls dot hit test point. The player, X position first, X. And now we're creating the lower right point, so that's going to be still positive, moving to the right, half the width. Player dot width divided by 2. And then we have to do the Y, the player dot Y. And we're moving, it's lower right, so it's moving down, so plus the player dot half the height divided by 2. Shape flag is true again, 2 closing parentheses, opening curly bracket, move the player in the opposite direction, so the player dot along the X axis plus equals, and still minus 5. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and now we just need to do the left side. So this time we are creating 2 points, one on the upper left, one on the bottom left. So same old, yep. If the maze dot walls dot hit test point, the player for X position first. We want to move it to the left. The X is moving to the left this time, so it has to be a minus. Minus half the width of the player, the player dot width divided by 2. Then the player, I have to do the Y position, the player dot Y, and we'll do the upper left first. So we have to move this up. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do minus the player half the height divided by 2. And then we have to have the shape flag, comma, true, and then 2 closing parentheses. Okay. And once again, which direction? I have to change my spelling on the maze. There we go. Okay. We want to move the player in the opposite direction that's currently moving. So when it's moving to the left, it's moving minus 5. So opposite of that is going to be, yes, positive 5. So the player dot x plus equals positive 5. Okay. We're almost there. One more if statement. If, else if the maze dot walls dot hit test point, the player x. Now we're going to be creating the lower left, so still to the left, so it needs to be a minus. The player. No. I hate my keyboard. Hold on. My keyboard spazzed out. Come on. The player. Dot half the width, of course, so width divided by 2. And then we need to do the y, so the player dot y, and lower, this is the lower left, so we have to go down, so plus the player dot height divided by 2, comma, shape flag is true, 2 closing parentheses, opening curly bracket. Move the player in the opposite direction, the player dot x plus equals positive 5. Okay. Should be good to go. Here we go. What did I do? I'm sure I misspelled something. What did I misspell now? Okay, yep, there we go. Player, capital P. Okay. Okay, all right, let's see. Hopefully I spelled everything correctly this time. How about, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Now, boom. Yep, there we go. Boom. Get through the maze. Now we just need one more thing. The goal. Let's do the goal. Okay. All right, let's do it. And all we really need to do now is, okay, so we have all these if statements in our move player function. It's an enter frame move function. It's checking to see if those booleans are moving or if they're true. So now we're just going to add one more if statement, one more collision detection to see if the player is hitting the goal. And, we can keep it, we're going to keep it simple. We can use a hit test object on this, so it's good. Okay, so we can just do where I'm doing after the else if, and wait a second, let me make sure that I don't have too many closing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there needs to be 2. So that one goes along with this else if. This one goes along with this. And then we have this closing that goes along with this bigger else if for the left. So outside, after this last, there should be 2 curly brackets, closing curly brackets. Then we're going to do our if, and then there should be one closing curly bracket from where you start. And so we're just going to do if, and just the player dot hit test object, the goal. What do we want it to do? Well, this would be the point where you would call, like if you're running this from the launch, you'd say, you'd have that root object and you'd say the root is equal to the parent and then say the root dot get win and run your winning screen. Here we can just point to a couple of pieces in our library. And also we'd want to turn off all of our event listeners. And so let's do that first. Let's just copy all of our event listeners that we created in the init function. Let's copy all those event listeners that we did in our init function. And then let's paste them into our if statement, that our hit test object if statement here. And we just want to change those adds to remove. So we're going to remove all those event listeners. I'm just trying to turn everything off. And then we'll have a variable, a local variable that we'll call the back. Oops, my keyboard, drive me crazy. Var, the back, and we're just going to call from the library. We're going to go ahead and call this class called panel. It's just a blue background. It's no big deal. Panel equals new panel. It's just, like I said, it's class out of the library, so no arguments. Add it to the stage. Add child. The back. And let's just add that text that says you win. So we'll create just another local variable, the win. It's you win text class equals new you win text, open close parentheses, no arguments. And we'll just add it to the stage, add child, the win. That's probably a pretty bad class name, but whatever. It's kind of long and cumbersome. And uh-oh. All right, let's see what I did. Let me make sure that, what did I do wrong? I probably misspelled something. Okay. Oh, yeah. I've been so bad about forgetting that second parentheses. Look at that. Yeah, you got to have two parentheses. So we have the one for the hit test object, the one set. We have the one set that's for the hit test object. And then we have the second closing parentheses for the if statement. So I've been really bad about forgetting that recently. And let's see, what else did I do wrong? And, okay, it's saying private attribute must be used. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, like I said, whenever you see this, most likely it's because your brackets are off. It's because you have a mismatch of closing curly brackets. And, in fact, I do. Okay, so I have this closing curly bracket is going to be for the whole function. I still need a closing curly bracket for this if statement. Okay, so now this curly bracket goes with this if statement. And that's going to be end move player. Yep, there we go. So that one is for the ending of the moving player. Okay. Let's see, I think I have one more. Nope, that was it. Okay. Okay, so now let's get over here to the goal and see what we got here. Things might not be placed in the best. Let's see if we got it. Yep, there we go. All right, maybe place that a little bit different. We probably need to scale up our panel a little bit, which we can do that. The back dot scale x equals the panel, or the back dot scale y, and then let's just make it 200% bigger, and then let's just move the win, the x position. Let's just do this stage width divided by 2, and the height divided by stage height divided by 2, which we've done a million times. width divided by 2. And the win dot y stage height divided by 2. Okay. That should look a little bit better now. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Beautiful. And that's it. Thanks, guys.